Story 1. The gas station man who followed me. After my recent breakup, I had no choice but to move back in with my parents in western Massachusetts, a quiet, rural area compared to the life I had in Boston. It's not exactly where I imagined myself in my 20s. I like the city, the energy, the opportunities. But now, I was back in my old bedroom, hoping it was just temporary. To make ends meet, I returned to my old job at the urgent care clinic. They were happy to have me back, though I was placed on overnight shifts, exhausting hours that completely wrecked my sleep and social life. One night, after finishing a particularly long and boring shift at 4 a.m., I decided to stop at a local bagel shop that opened early. I grabbed a chicken sandwich and a salad to take home. On the way, I noticed my gas tank was low, so I stopped at the Shell station, one of the few places open at that hour. The parking lot was massive, but almost always empty, especially at that time. I went inside to pay in cash, and when I came back out to pump gas, I noticed a blue sedan had pulled up at a different pump. A man stepped out of the car at the same time I began fueling. He looked to be in his 40s, thin and unfamiliar. As I focused on my pump, he walked over, smiled, and said, "Want to see a funny trick?" I felt uneasy, but for some reason I replied, "What is it?" He proceeded to do that dumb old joke where you fold your finger to make it look like it's detached. I gave a fake chuckle just to be polite and hoped he'd leave, but he didn't. He kept doing the trick even after I turned away. Finally, the pump clicked to indicate the tank was full. I quickly put the nozzle back, relieved to have an excuse to walk away. I went back inside to grab my change, but when I came back out, the man was gone. His car was still there, and gas was still pumping into it. That didn't sit right with me. I rushed to my car and left. On the drive home, I kept checking my rearview mirror. No headlights behind me. No signs I were being followed. Still, I felt nervous. I got home within 5 minutes. Like always, I used the spare key my parents hid in a bush by the porch. I unlocked the door, returned the key to its spot, and quietly slipped inside. I didn't want to wake anyone, so I made my way straight to the kitchen and started eating. That's when I heard it. The sound of the front door unlocking, opening, and closing. I froze mid-bite, every muscle in my body tensed. "Mom? Dad?" I called. No reply. I got up and cautiously checked the foyer. No one was there. My heart was racing. I sprinted up the stairs to my parents' room and flung the door open. They were both still in bed. I was shaking as I said, "Someone just came in." I heard the door. My dad jumped up, grabbed a stick he kept by the door, and began checking the house. We searched the rooms, including my brother's old room. He was thorough, but I still had this sinking feeling. He stepped outside to check the hiding spot, and the spare key was gone. I stayed in my brother's room and decided to double-check some of the spots my dad may have missed. I looked under the bed. Nothing. Opened the closet. Nothing. I started feeling silly, like maybe I imagined it all. But just to be sure, I crept downstairs again. The main floor was dark and quiet. I walked toward the dining room, which connects to the front foyer. I got down on my knees, lifted the tablecloth slightly to peek underneath. And there he was. The same man from the gas station, hiding under our dining room table. I screamed at the top of my lungs. My mom started screaming from the hallway. My dad came barreling up the stairs with the stick in hand and lunged at the man. Despite being at least 20 years older, my dad fought with all he had. The man fought back. My mom and I joined in, hitting, pulling, pushing, doing anything we could to help. Finally, outnumbered and overwhelmed, the man fled through the front door and disappeared into the night. We called the police immediately. They arrived fast and left a patrol car in our driveway overnight, just in case he returned. My dad wedged a chair under the doorknob and slept on the couch. First thing in the morning, he replaced the front door lock. That was the last time we ever hid a spare key outside. I still feel guilty. I may have led that man to our home. I didn't realize it, but he must have followed me. Probably with his headlights off the whole time. That thought chills me. Thankfully, none of us were seriously hurt. But I've never wanted to move out more than I do now. That night changed everything. Story 2. The car trap in Wendy's parking lot. I was alone, but not really. I'm the type of person who prefers driving at night. I hate traffic, especially in New York. So when I planned a trip to Florida to spend a month with my brother, I decided to leave Long Island at 2 a.m., hoping to escape the worst of the morning gridlock. Once I crossed out of New York and into New Jersey, the roads were practically empty. No cars, no red lights, just me and the road. But after a few hours of driving, hunger started to creep in. It was close to 4 a.m. Then, I saw it. A small, glowing road sign indicating a Wendy's just off the next exit. It was the first restaurant I'd seen in hours, and I was starving. So I took the exit. When I pulled into the parking lot, I saw some lights were on inside the restaurant, and one car was parked in the corner. The drive-through menu was lit up, so I figured the place was open. I pulled up to the intercom and waited. A minute passed. "Hello?" I called out gently. Nothing. I pulled out my phone and Googled the location. Sure enough, it didn't open until 6 a.m. I sighed, about to leave when 3 loud knocks on my passenger side window nearly made me jump out of my seat. I whipped my head around. A man was standing outside, smiling in a strangely calm way. He motioned for me to roll down the window. I didn't feel safe, so I cracked it open just barely enough to hear him. He said, "The place is closed, huh?" I nodded. "Yeah, just found out." Then he pointed to the car in the corner and said his battery had died. He asked if I could give him a jump. "I've got the cables," he added. I hesitated. Something about the situation felt off, but part of me felt guilty for not helping. What if it were me stuck like that? I told myself it was karma, and agreed. I backed up my car and parked next to his, hood to hood. I got out and popped my hood. He opened his trunk and pulled out a set of jumper cables. We connected everything and I turned on my engine. He got in his car and tried starting it. Nothing. "Maybe just give it a minute," he said. Then, unexpectedly, he walked away, pulled out his phone, and started speaking in low Spanish. I couldn't understand a word, but the way he was glancing around gave me a terrible feeling. When he returned, he told me his friend suggested waiting a few more minutes before trying again. "Okay, but I can't stay long," I replied. And then it happened. 2 pickup trucks suddenly roared into the parking lot, from opposite sides, boxing in my car. Time froze. In an instant, I understood everything. It was a trap. I quickly pulled off the jumper cables, slammed my hood shut, and locked my car with the key fob. There was no way to drive out. Both trucks were blocking me in. I looked at the man. His smile had changed. No longer friendly, now twisted. Evil. Predatory. I didn't speak. I didn't ask questions. I ran. I sprinted toward the trees lining the back of the lot. I didn't care what I scraped my legs on or if I fell. I had to get out of there. Fast. I crashed through the woods, branches slashing my shins. I found a large tree and crouched behind it, trying to slow my breathing. I could hear men yelling in Spanish nearby. There were at least 3 of them, searching for me. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. I just listened. After what felt like forever, the voices grew distant. Then, the sound of my car alarm pierced the night. They'd broken into it. Everything I had packed, my clothes, shoes, watches, electronics, bags, all gone. I stayed hidden for a while, then crept back out. The trucks and that man's car were gone. Only my car remained. With its rear window shattered and the interior ransacked, I stood in the darkness, stunned. I started crying, shaking with fear and frustration. I called the police and explained everything. Officers arrived and told me the car the man drove had a fake license plate, and the 2 trucks had no plates at all. They promised to review the security cameras once the restaurant opened. They took my information and told me I didn't have to remain in the area. They'd follow up. I got back on the highway, defeated. What was meant to be a peaceful road trip became the most horrifying night of my life. A few days later, the police confirmed what I already knew deep down. None of my stuff was recovered. Those men got away with everything. I still believe in karma. And I truly hope those monsters get what's coming to them. Story 3. The bathroom man who followed me between rest stops. He wasn't just a strange man. He was following me. Silently. I was on an extremely long road trip, over 15 hours of driving, most of it overnight. I won't say where I started or where I was going, because that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is what happened on the way. I was driving through a remote area along the East Coast. No streetlights, no cars, just darkness and the sound of tires on the road. I was completely alone. After several hours, my body started aching, and the urge to use the bathroom became unbearable. Desperately scanning the road, I finally spotted a familiar blue sign. Rest area ahead. I turned off the highway like it was a lifeline. It was a small, lonely rest stop. Just a tiny building for bathrooms and a nearly empty parking lot. No trucks, just 1 car parked in the far corner. I assumed the driver was sleeping inside. I got out of my car, stretched from the long drive, and walked toward the restroom. That's when the real story began. As I entered, I saw something that stopped me in my tracks. A man was standing in the far corner of the bathroom, head down, completely still, facing the wall. He wasn't using the urinal. He wasn't moving. He wasn't speaking. He was just there. I froze. For a few seconds, I didn't know what to do. I almost asked, "Are you okay?" But something deep inside me screamed not to speak. Still needing to pee, I tried to ignore him and walked calmly to the only stall. I went in, closed the door, but I couldn't go. I couldn't even breathe right. It was dead silent, and deeply wrong. After a minute, I gave up. I opened the stall door and saw that the man had turned around and was now staring directly at me. He didn't say a word, just looked. His face was terrifying, his eyes empty, lifeless. It was the most unsettling look I've ever seen on another human being. I rushed out of the bathroom and ran straight to my car, locked the doors, started the engine. In my side mirror, I saw him slowly walking toward me. I didn't wait. I floored it back onto the highway. About 20 minutes later, I saw another rest area sign. I still had to go badly, and I told myself there was no way that guy could have followed me all this way. So I pulled in. This rest area was nearly identical. Tiny, empty, no cars. I parked right in front of the restroom and hurried inside. This time, I was finally able to relieve myself. But the peace didn't last long. I heard the door open. Footsteps entered, and they stopped right in front of my stall. I looked down. Shoes. A man's. Standing completely still. My heart pounded. I said loudly, "Someone's in here." No answer. That silence told me everything. He wasn't there to use the bathroom. I reached for my phone, hands trembling, and called 911 immediately. I put it on speaker and spoke loud and clear. "I'm in a public restroom, and someone suspicious is standing right outside my stall. I feel threatened." I wasn't just telling the operator, I was making sure he heard me. It worked. After a few seconds, I heard the man's footsteps retreat. And then, he left the restroom. I told the dispatcher I didn't feel safe leaving until police arrived. They agreed and stayed on the line with me. Minutes later, I heard a knock at the restroom door and a voice. "Police. You're safe to come out now." I stepped out and explained everything to the officer, from the first rest stop to now. I gave a description of the man and mentioned the suspicious car I saw earlier. The officer checked my vehicle to make sure it hadn't been tampered with. Once it was clear, we both left the rest area and went our separate ways. I continued my road trip, but something inside me had changed. I wasn't assaulted. I wasn't robbed, but I experienced one of the most mentally terrifying nights of my life. And the strangest part? I'm a man. You always hear stories like this happening to women. But this proved to me, danger doesn't care about gender. It can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time.